Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
There you go. Just like that, we are all running another brand new live edition of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you. And the countdown does continue. We are 10 days, 4 hours, 59 minutes, and 13 seconds away from week 0 of the college football season. That also means the Vanderbilt Commodores will take on the Hawaii Rainbows. Are they the Rainbows or the Warriors?
I think they're still the Hawaii Warriors.
Okay, all right. They were Rainbows at one time, though, right?
Rainbow Warriors.
Rainbow,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
If you saw pictures yesterday from Vanderbilt Commodore Stadium, you're like, how are they going to play this game?
That's where the Pearl Cohen jokes come from.
In 10 days, 4 hours, and 58 minutes, because I don't know how they're going to play. I don't know how the teams are going to come onto the field. This might be
They probably just need to move it to Nissan Stadium over there where the Titans play, because, I mean, when you don't touch your stadium for 30-plus years and it looks like basically a high school stadium on steroids, then that's what happens, and that's what Vanderbilt they're finally having to spend some of this SEC network money that they just keep putting in the coffers, and they're finally trying to modernize their facilities, much like our great friends at in the Big 12 you're about to tell people about, But again, they are still in the Big 12, right?
They are still in the Big 12. So, yes, they are.
But I mean, and when you have an alum that's worth $2 billion,
and we learned that Kevin Harlan went to Kansas. Did not know Kevin Harlan graduated. But anyway, that's Kansas football. But the pictures from Vanderbilt Commodore Stadium look like, so to put it in perspective, both end zones are under construction.
Yeah.
Both end zones have nothing around them except dirt and steel and other stuff.
Well, you don't want people running into dirt and steel, you know what I'm saying?
They're wide open. I guess you could do what, Pop Warner style, and just send everybody to the end zones for halftime and just do it that way, I guess.
With what the crowd looked like at the high school stadium, Hawaii, because they were undergoing a renovation last year, Scott.
Right.
So they had it at basically a high school level stadium. We might just need to have it out at Toyota Field like UNA and Jacksonville State did, because that's probably about as many people as would come to the game anyways.
We could offer Milton Frank.
Or Joe Davis.
That would be an upgrade. Both of them would be an upgrade.
I know our good friends are still playing soccer there, but, it is what it is. I mean, hey.
They could come down here. But Nissan Stadium, because Nissan Stadium did get new turf.
Yeah.
And it has some kind of special turf in it now where it could handle a lot of usage, because that was
that's what they
things.
did at Milton Frank. You're talking about just the field turf. So I just think their best bet would be moving it to Nissan Stadium, probably. I mean, and it's in a good location. We've both been there. I mean, it's right off the interstate, and you can get in and out of there as fans and watch the game. And hopefully Vanderbilt won't humiliate the conference. I don't think they will. I think Clark Lee's got it going in a direction where they're going to soundly whip Hawaii for the second straight year. I'd be surprised if they did not.
All right, 256-576-4977. That's how we get you cranked up here on a Wednesday morning.
And I'm glad they are renovating their stadium. I'm glad they are finally stepping up. But if it's just if you're in the middle of a war zone, and what I mean by that is where it's just
it looks like a battlefield on both end zones. It really does.
It just looks like it's going to be a task. Let's just say, to do that. To me, it's unless there's something going on that week or something where you can't go to Nissan Stadium, I don't understand why you wouldn't. Just go to Nissan Stadium and play the game. Isn't that where the Tennessee and Virginia are playing?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
the
first game,
Yeah.
I mean, I maybe there's something about, we don't want to play at the same place where Tennessee does and all this kind of stuff. But, I mean, I just think
it'd be a lot better fan experience.
Oh, I think so.
Than what you have at your own stadium right now.
Yeah. So I don't think there's any doubt.
They're not going to make a lot of progress in 10 days.
Doesn't look like it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that was a big topic in Nashville at SEC Media Days when Clark Lee came to speak. They were talking about all the construction going on, and he promised that they would have a way to get Teresa Walker and everybody up there in the press box.
Oh, so just so you see, okay, so there's one end zone right there.
Yeah.
That's what one end zone looks like. I'm showing Drew the pictures now.
Right.
That's what one end zone. And now keep in mind, the other one is where the teams normally had come out in the past.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about that.
So that's what the other one looks like. How are you going to be ready to go in 10 days to do anything football related at that stadium? I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
I don't know, man. I think for a year they should have talked to the Titans, and the Titans don't play on Saturdays till late in the season. Usually when Vanderbilt would be done, I think they should have played every home game at Nissan Stadium. I'm not lying.
All right, let's go out to the phone lines. Vol,
sorry we had to cut you off yesterday. What's up, Vol, man?
Doing great, guys. How about yourself?
Doing
pretty
good.
Well, sorry I haven't talked to you in about a year, but I had a hiatus I had to take. So
no problem. Glad you're
glad you're back.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm tight, right, and full of spite now, ready to get going. Football time is here. I missed the whole football season last year because I was in Vanderbilt Hospital.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
That's where I spent my last year. I had a liver transplant on December the 17th. So
Are we all good? Everything good?
Tight, right, and full of spite, baby. I'm good to go.
Well, congratulations, man. The Lord is good, man. I'm glad you're up and back.
Yeah, that's what happens when you retire. Bad things happen, I think. So I recommend no retirement for anybody. But I was interested in what you thought about the fact that Tennessee was ranked 12th this year in the preseason polls. I guess it's I don't know. I guess it makes me kind of maybe it gives them more motivation to play harder. I don't know, but it seems like they're discounting our quarterback a little bit, and I don't know. I don't think there's a player in the SEC or the nation that's got a stronger arm than he has.
No, there's not. And when he transferred in from Michigan, that was the whole thing, was that Joe Milton's arm was strong. But, Drew, the whole thing with Joe Milton is not how good his arm is, it's how accurate is Joe Milton going to be.
Well, I mean, I think 12's about right until you see them play and see them go out there. I mean, they were not expected to be a ball club that was ranked last year, and they went 11-2 with how much Hendon Hooker had improved and became one of I thought, along with Bryce Young, the two best quarterbacks in college football, both better than Caleb Williams. And Joe Milton certainly finished the year strong, and I think that's why they're ranked 12th. If they had not played well in the Orange Bowl and he hadn't left such an impression, I think they would have been maybe a fringe top 25 team or unranked, but they bring a lot of guys because they bring a lot of guys back on offense and defense. But the thing is, they had to replace two big-time skill guys in Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt, but Squirrel White played well in the Orange Bowl.
Squirrel.
The QB played well. So Joe Milton, and so they got a good look at those guys. And again, when you're talking about being ranked 12th, with the unpredictability of a start of a season, if Tennessee drills Virginia, if Tennessee plays well the first month, there's a pretty good chance you're going to be solidly inside the top 10, which means you're already on the fringe of the playoff rankings. So I think 12 is about right. If Joe Milton does hit and he becomes a great player like Hendon Hooker did, then he's going to be a Heisman candidate. Tennessee's going to be in the top 10. Tennessee could easily end up in the top 5 because they're going to have their opportunities. They got to play they got to play Alabama, and they got to play Georgia. And that's, the two teams that are thought to be the favorites in the SEC along with LSU. So they're gonna have the teams on their schedule to play, and if they beat them, Tennessee's going to be right there. So being ranked 12th to me is a pretty good position to be in. And if Joe Milton struggles, then it's the $8 million man. We already know Nico Iamaleava. They'll have him ready to roll. He'll get his opportunity. But Joe Milton, to his credit, in my opinion, stayed when so many guys transfer. when they lose a job, even though he'd already transferred once, because I haven't double-checked it, but he probably graduated from Tennessee, so he probably could have graded and bailed out anyways and gone anywhere and played. But he stayed because he trusts Josh Heupel, and Heupel tried to recruit him to UCF. So they've known each other a long time. He and Hendon Hooker also had a really good relationship. That was his roommate. That was his best friend. So there was a unique situation going on. So I think Tennessee is in as good a spot as they needed to be.
Over or under on 9.5 wins?
That's a great question. I picked them second in the East.
Over. You say over?
Volman says over.
Yeah.
I'm gonna probably say 9-3, but again, I think they're gonna be
right there at
I did pick them second in the East, so I certainly think they're right behind Georgia. I think they're gonna have trouble with Alabama. I think they're gonna have trouble with Georgia, but they could win out. They could end up winning 10 games, but we'll see. There could be another because I didn't expect them to lose to South Carolina last year. I thought with the way they were playing, they were headed to the playoff, and then South Carolina reached out there and got them.
I think we went to South Carolina and we were underestimating South Carolina, overestimating ourselves.
Well, that's part of the things that happen when you have success, man.
And Spencer Rattler, I mean, we had seen him when he was at Oklahoma. He had played some high-level football. Spencer Rattler's thing is he is really inconsistent when he throws the ball. But if he's on, he is one of the best quarterbacks in college football if he is on and if he's consistent. He was on and he was consistent that night, that one night, and that's where he takes a lot of heat and criticism is that he is so inconsistent. But that one night...
he was right. He was on. Normally he throws the ball to the other team more often than he does to his own.
That he does, yes.
I think we were counting on that, and it didn't work out for us, but... we got our tails whipped. That's the way it works, Football's football. And the same thing happened to LSU when we played them at home.
I mean,
they just kept making mistake after mistake after mistake. It wasn't that they're a bad team, and they're not a bad team. It's just they couldn't do anything right that night, and we did everything right. And that was the reason that Tennessee beat them as bad as they did. If we'd have played them again, I guarantee it would have been maybe a touchdown game or a field goal game.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have been as bad as it was.
Because I'm looking, and I wanted to see their first road game because Tennessee has got a interesting schedule that's a little bit sneaky. They I know they started flipping the script last year, but they've had trouble a lot of trouble in the past at Florida. They go to Florida.
They haven't won. I think it's 20 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
They've won in Gainesville.
And then they certainly are going to be ready to play South Carolina after what happened last year. So that, and that's going to be in Knoxville.
Same way with Georgia.
And then of course, but they got the sneaky game before they play Alabama. They host Texas A&M, and again A&M should Tennessee win that game at home? Probably so, but A&M is a very talented team. I said, I picked them third in the West, but I don't know. That's a dangerous one too. And then after they play Alabama, which is going to be supremely emotional, regardless. Since what happened last year, they got to go to Kentucky. And Kentucky, I think, with Leary is going to be sneaky good. So that's going to be and at Missouri too. So I think this year Tennessee's schedule's a little more difficult, and that's why I had them going 9-3.
I can see your point, and thanks for actually pronouncing Nico's name correctly because I don't have a clue how to say it.
Oh, I practiced and practiced and practiced once he committed to Tennessee. I can tell you that. Just like with Tunga Vailoa, Uiagalelei, and Nico Iamaleava. I practiced. We have Vince on all the time, Vince Farrar. We got several Tennessee guys on, and I mean, especially with the headlines he was making, and absolutely, he's the star of the future. He'll be QB1 next year, almost assuredly.
All right, Vol, man.
Go ahead, sir.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the phone call. It's 7:14. Let's get our first break in. And so when we come back, questions from Tennessee and Texas A&M. Plus, Nick Saban had post-practice interview yesterday. We'll let you know what he said about the quarterbacks and his team and other stuff when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Sounds like we've got a wreck working 565 and I-65 on the eastbound side. It's coming in as a no injury, and we picked up one in the 6,000 block of Moore's Mill. That one's going to be a hit and run. They moved the remaining car off into a parking lot. Had one in Decatur Church in Somerville Road that had an injury. Still might be working with it. Popeye's $6 big box is back with 2 pieces of hand-breaded signature chicken, or 8 of their chicken nuggets, 2 sides, and a buttermilk biscuit for $6. Popeye's University in Jordan, 72 in Jeff, and North Parkway. Captain Nick in the Popeye's Sky Center.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
You're starting to see more and more of them on the road in Huntsville, Madison, and North Alabama. And we've got them in stock, on the ground, ready for you to test drive. Hi, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and I'm talking about the all-electric Mustang Mach-E. Come experience the torque, exhilaration, and technology of our all-electric 2023 Mach-E, and you'll see why folks are leasing and buying them as fast as we can get them. And that's not to mention you may qualify for a $7,500 tax credit. Woody Anderson Ford is offering financing as low as 2.9% for 60 months, plus $3,000 in bonus cash on the 2023 Mustang Mach-E. Or you can lease one for $449 a month. And we've also got 23 Bronco Sports for $399 a month. These are 36-month leases with $52.71 on Mach-E, $37.09 on Bronco Sport due at signing. 0 security deposit, just tax tag title, and your good credit. These offers end September 4th. Call 539-9441 for complete details. Come on in today. Woody Anderson Ford, hope to see you soon.
Chapman Commercial Realty, your source for Alabama commercial real estate. Chapman Commercial Realty has the experience and expertise you're looking for when making commercial real estate decisions. If it's office space, retail space, investment property, or project development, Chapman Commercial Realty is your answer. Call Bill Chapman today at 256-656-8413. That's 256-656-8413. Or find them online at chapmancommercialrealty.com.
Do you want your next party to be something you'll remember? Then head on down to Flosa Premier to book your next big bash. Birthday? Corporate meeting? Maybe just a family reunion so you can get your cousin Kyle back into the basketball court so you can beat him at basketball. I don't have no idea. Flow is fun for all ages looking for high-flying excitement, arcade fun, and tasty snacks to satisfy your hunger. Whether you have 10 friends or 25, Flow is jam-packed with something fun for everyone. Get jumping with Flow off South Parkway in Drake or head over to flowhuntsville.com to book your next party now.
Work injuries happen in Alabama all the time, whether it's an accident at work, getting injured lifting heavy objects, hurting your hands in a machine, or just performing the same movement over and over again until your body breaks down. Nobody wants to get hurt at work, and you certainly don't want to miss time from work because of injury. But when it happens, there is only one law firm to call in Alabama, Pond, Lahaki, Giordano. For personalized legal support, reach out to Pond Lahaki at 855-774-3838 or pondlahaki.com.
Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond, 7:18 on a Wednesday morning. And there was a lot of this going on last night in town. I totally forgot that the concert last night was going on over at the amphitheater. I know a lot of friends that went.
Well, it's so funny. We were talking
Snoop
about
Dogg was in town last night.
We were talking about how broke Michael Orr obviously is,
yes.
and about the time that he was rising to prominence in the recruiting world and in high school, and he met the Tuohys, was about the last time I can remember Snoop coming to Huntsville. He came to Huntsville years ago when I was with the Huntsville Flight. And
wow!
And my good friend Scott Faust went to the show.
Yeah.
He was the trainer at the time. He was now the head trainer for the Milwaukee Bucks. And we were. I remember I went to shows with him, but I didn't go to that one. I didn't make it to that one, but
I didn't make it last night either. And I totally.
But yeah, Snoop came then, and so He's back in town with Wiz Khalifa, who I wasn't as familiar with, and then of course Warren G. Everybody knows Warren G.
Oh yeah,
from my generation. But yeah, I mean that was
regulators.
Cool. Oh yeah,
mount up.
Exactly.
Yep. Anyway, if you went to the concert last night, hope you had fun. 256-576-4977. Nick Saban yesterday, obviously breaking down practice afterwards, another full pad practice for the Tide as they get ready to take on and host Middle Tennessee to open the season. Coach was asked about quarterbacks yesterday, and here is what he had to say.
You know, what I tell the quarterbacks is it's not up to the coaches. You're looking over your shoulder to see if the coach is going to do this or that. How about you forcing me to play? Forcing me to play you. Force us to play you. When you get your reps and you get a chance to play, you play so good, we don't have any choice but to play you, rather than worrying about all this other stuff. So that's the only way I can answer your question.
The QBs. QB1 right now, Jalen Milroe. So, and I know a lot of people asking about Ty Simpson and can he overtake Jalen Milroe? He hasn't so far, and I don't think he's been bad. He just hasn't. He's been, flat. I think he's been solid. He just has not. It's kind of what Saban's talking about. I think he just needs to relax and play. He needs to make them play him and make them make a decision as far as right now they don't have to. The incumbent was Milroe going into the spring. He was the number one guy coming out, and he's still the number one guy because he's been solid. The other guys aren't out playing him, man. And so that's the case. Buckner has more skins on the wall, but he wasn't at Alabama. And he did not go through the spring. He has just gotten here. He's still adjusting to this football team. And, what I was told was he had a great week of practice last week, but then you go out in the scrimmage and you don't play well. But you're also with the twos a lot of times. You're not with the first group. He did get some first group reps, and that can matter, but still, Buckner was going to have to overcome a lot. I mean, you got to go over here, and once again, it goes back to what Coach Saban just said. You've got to play exceptionally well and stand out to jump over the incumbent. And the incumbent right now is Jalen Milroe. He's QB1, and unless something changes this week in practice, and we're reaching the halfway point today, he's going to be number one going into the scrimmage on Saturday. And if he plays solid football and the others don't wow Coach Saban, which is basically what I took that to mean, then Jalen Milroe is going to start against Middle Tennessee.
If Jalen Milroe goes on to start for Middle Tennessee, Jalen Milroe then starts in week 2 against Texas. Is this the same feeling that Alabama fans probably had when Blake Sims was the starting quarterback? Because I believe Jake Coker had transferred in, and everybody thought Jake Coker was going to win that starting job. Blake Sims prevails, wins the starting job, and goes 12-2, throws for over 3,400 yards as the starting quarterback. Is this that same feeling you think that Alabama fans have?
Potentially, but the thing with Blake was there was still some bumps in the road. Like he went to Arkansas and did not play well at all. But the defense stepped up late. Landon Collins had a big interception that sealed it. And they were fortunate to get a couple of turnovers. Arkansas fumbled early. But the real situation where it turned the corner, and again, I still feel like if Blake had hit some speed bumps where, they certainly didn't go to Jake against Arkansas, but this was earlier in the season, if I remember correctly, because Alabama played Florida pretty early in the year in September that year. They played them in Tuscaloosa, and Will Muschamp was there. There was still some wonder if Blake Sims was going to be the guy. And he started out the game. He threw an 87-yard touchdown on a wheel route, basically. It was one of those things where, and then he got rolling. I think the Gators decided to play zone just to see if he could pick it apart. And, of course, Alabama had Amari Cooper, who they couldn't cover either.
Oh, yeah.
So Coop had, a Biletnikoff Award, Heisman-type season. So, but really that game where Blake Sims just lit it up, I mean, hitting Kenyon Drake on that first play, I think that's where they knew that he could do the job. And that's what got him the equity, even though he struggled against Arkansas, to get through that and then to get through the rest of the season. Once he passed that test against Florida, I think they felt like, okay, this is a guy that we can win with. Because if people remember, in the Iron Bowl in Tuscaloosa later that year too, Scott, he had a terrible first half. I mean, he had like 3 interceptions.
Well, that's why.
But he came back out and kept slinging and hit Amari Cooper deep, and that was the Iron Bowl that turned into basically arena football. It ended up being 55-44.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was just one of those things where Alabama, they were trailing Auburn by double digits, or early in the third quarter, but then they put the gas pedal down and ended up leaving Auburn in their dust kind of in the second half. And so, but again, it was about equity, because I think during the regular season, Blake had passed enough tests where they were like, look, because we trust Blake Sims, we'll let him play through mistakes. We know he can make plays, and he did. To his credit, he was able to play through adversity. Now, can Milroe do that? Because there's going to be some rough patches.
Right.
Like probably second game against Texas.
Two.
How is Milroe going to respond? Will he respond like Blake Sims? Like Blake Sims, even though he didn't play well against Arkansas, he found a way to win the game. That's the bottom line. Did you win?
Right.
Okay. And I think that's the thing. And Blake's only loss, as everybody knows, of that regular season was at Ole Miss. And even then, he was throwing for the win in the back of the end zone to O.J. Howard.
Yes.
And
I was at that game, by the way.
It was a crazy atmosphere.
Yeah.
And and then they ended up winning the SEC. Remember, he was MVP against Missouri. He played exceptionally well. And then I know he threw an interception late against Ohio State. He didn't play that poorly, though, against Ohio State. It was just one of those things where
Ezekiel Elliott went
crazy
for Ohio State.
Alabama lost Landon Collins. They lost Reggie Ragland. It was a battle of attrition. They started losing defensive players, and then it was very, very difficult for them to stop a beast like Zeke Elliott. And even Urban Meyer didn't screw it up and choke because he had been down in that game, if I remember correctly, 21-7. He was losing as usual against Nick Saban. Now he found a way to win that game, and they, of course,
won the national title.
The media got amnesia, forgot all about that Saban ran his ass out of the SEC at Florida, and they thought he was the greatest coach in the history of man. Just ask Cowturd. He was everywhere yelling and screaming. But did he come close to winning the national championship after that? No. The next year he choked.
Because the dynasty was over after Urban beat him in that game.
And they didn't even make the playoff the next year. Remember that, guys, the Ohio State fans thought they should have made it the next year because they lost at home and in the Big Ten, I believe, to Iowa. I believe your boys beat them, dude. And they lost to Michigan State too.
I think Iowa beat them in Iowa City that year. I think it was a pretty bad.
And Michigan State beat them in the shoe, I believe.
Yeah.
And then Michigan State went on to the playoff, and I had people telling me Michigan State would beat Alabama, and it was a beatdown of epic proportions. It was 38-0.
It was Michigan State and Iowa in the Big Ten championship game that year, and Michigan State. It was a thriller, and Michigan State ended up pulling it out in Indianapolis.
The Great Sucks didn't even make it to the Big Ten championship game after everybody crowned their ass before the season that they were repeating. They had the most talented roster in America, but see, that's the problem. They also had convicts everywhere.
Kind of like last year, Alabama had the most talent, one of the most talented rosters in college football.
See, if you go back and look at Herb's history, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of if you peel back the onion and look, inside the program, it's kind of rotten to the core. So anybody that hires him when he has his one last ride, and I think he'll probably have his one last ride because his ego can't take it because he got his ass run out of the NFL.
You think he comes back to college football one more time?
One more time because, his final experience was worse than Lou Holtz. okay, in the NFL when Lou Holtz coached the Jets. Do you think Lou didn't come back to college football? Of course he did.
And coaches that have those type of egos, it burns at them.
Herb's not going to be able to help himself. He will come back to somebody and think and Cal Hurd will think he's going to win 3 more national championships because he has 3 on his resume.
It's going to have to be, and it would have to be the right. I mean, I'm talking maybe if Steve Sarkisian does not get it done at Texas.
Yeah.
If Lincoln Riley does not get it done at USC,
don't they have?
It would have to be an opportunity like that.
Isn't that series on Netflix coming out or something about Florida?
Yeah, because the Johnny Manziel one is done.
They're doing Johnny Boy. They did Johnny Boy. I need to find a way to watch Johnny Boy.
Florida Netflix documentary.
Yeah,
here we go.
And Herb
it's going to be called Swamp Kings.
See, and they needed to put they needed to put
August 22nd. So next week it comes out, and it's called Swamp Kings.
What it needs to be called is Tim Tebow Saved Urban. That's what they should have called it. Not Swamp Kings. Tebow saved Urban.
When Tim Tebow was speaking a week and a half ago here at the BBC.
Tebow is the real deal.
By the way, a fantastic speaker. If you ever get to hear him speak, take advantage of it. But he went into detail. So he started his speech by going into detail on being recruited from Alabama or Florida, on how close the decision was going either to Alabama or going to Florida. And he said that night that when he went to bed, he kept asking his dad, his mom, his family where he should go. And they told him that he would make the right choice, that it was up to him and he would ultimately make the right choice. And so he said he called Mike Shula. And he told Mike Shula that he was going to go to Florida. And he said Shula was not upset, like he didn't, whatever. And he hung up the phone with Mike Shula, and he said both of them were crying. And he said, that's the coach that I should play for. And he goes, and he told his dad, he goes, I think I made the wrong choice. And then he talked to Urban Meyer, and then he was like, well, no, maybe that was the right choice. But he said that it was down literally. He said he was, even before he officially announced on ESPN where he was going, because his phone died.
Yeah.
And he said that he leaned over to his dad and said, you know what? I still haven't told Urban Meyer that I said I'm coming to Florida. He goes, I still could say I'm going to Alabama. He said he ultimately went to Florida, but it was interesting to hear him say how close he was to coming to Alabama in that night.
Well, Gators mailbox won out, man. They had Gator stuff everywhere. They were, and if he even, I've heard him say before in his younger days that Larry Fedora had been the OC before. Again, with Ron Zook, and they had a really tight relationship with them. If Fedora was still there, he would have maybe been a Gator sooner. I mean, ifs and buts was candy and nuts. Right. But I thought Alabama had a legit shot at him, but the longer it went, I felt like he was going to end up staying at Florida. Plus, the offense fit him to a T. I mean, what Dan Mullen was doing with Urban Meyer, and when you saw Tim play in high school, and he played in one of basically the first national game against Hoover. You could just see that he was going to be special. And I told people, I said, he's going to be hell on wheels in that offense. And he made the right decision. It would have been interesting to see how Shula would have, if he would have changed his offense to fit Tebow, he would have needed to. But it is what it is.
It was interesting.
And what's interesting too, if my memory serves, here's where Shula and those guys pivoted, I believe, in that recruiting class. They ended up signing Greg McElroy.
Interesting.
Because they ended up they had to get a QB in the class, man. And so they had to, and because Tebow's freshman year was 06.
Worked out.
And they won a national title. And remember, Greg McElroy had to wait, man. He waited till he was a redshirt junior before he won the job at Alabama, and he played 2 years at Alabama in 08 and 09 when Saban was there. So, again, they had to pivot and get a quarterback. And at the time, I don't know if people remember, Greg McElroy, He was from South Lake Carroll, Scott.
Right.
In Texas. He was committed to Mike Leach in Texas Tech is where he was going to go.
Okay.
And then they flipped him from Texas Tech to Alabama.
All right, let's get a break in. When we come back, hear more from Nick Saban and throw out some more college football questions. Plus, the phone line's open to you, 256-576-4977.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
It will be a cool and quiet Wednesday night here across the Tennessee Valley. A mostly clear sky going to be expected. Low temperatures only going to fall into the low 60s heading into the overnight. Patchy fog could develop sometime throughout the overnight as well. We'll have to watch for that Thursday morning for your commute. Otherwise, we'll see plenty of sunshine throughout the day on Thursday. High temperatures going to be topping out in the mid 80s, and it looks like we'll see another dry day. I'm meteorologist Emily Owen on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got an accident reported 565 eastbound near I-65. Not much to it. It should be out of the way quickly. Had one in the 6,000 block of Moore's Mill. Sounds like that one's a hit and run. They moved it off into a parking lot and had an injury wreck in Decatur Church in Somerville that should be pretty well wrapped up. With more than 30 years experience, D&L Refrigeration can save you money on those heating and air conditioning repairs. 256-652-1207. State license 08091. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Thomas from Talent Heating and Air back in studio with us. And Thomas, those temperatures in the summertime starting to rise once again. You want to make sure you're not left out in the heat. You want some cold AC, give Talent Heating and Air a call.
That's right. If you give us a call, we can generally get out there the same day. So we pride ourselves on same-day service.
And what's that number?
256-503-4490.
And if those AC units are giving you the blues and you've already called someone else, never fear, give Talent Heating and Air a call because you guys can still come out.
That's right. We do free second opinions on major repairs and quotes. A lot of times we save our customers thousands of dollars and additionally get their units repaired before the other guy could even get started.
And that number for Talent Heating and Air is?
256-503-4490.
And if you can't give Talent Heating and Air a call, you can find them online at
talenthvac.com.
Schedule all your appointment service calls there. Talent Heating and Air. Give them a call or find them online today.
Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Thursday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
At Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, people call the award-winning burgers totally insane, which is a compliment because Bad Daddy's Burgers are just that, chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness built with premium Angus beef. They're bold and they're bad. Pair one with one of their signature cocktails or assortment of local craft brews. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, 2317 Memorial Parkway. Check out our menu and even order online at BadDaddy'sBurgerBar.com. Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
This will turn journalism on its ear.
Watch our stream on WZZN TV on Twitch and YouTube.
But you are the greatest hero in American history.
We are 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Hi, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. How about this? So, one of the things when it comes to SEC Media Days, one of the cool things is they sit down at our table. We get to chat with some of the players, some of the coaches, maybe. All the coaches make their rounds through an electronic media room. They go through the big main room, which is what you hear on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. But they also go through Marty and McGee.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best shows around. And Nick Saban, nonetheless. And the conversations sometimes around Marty and McGee, they're always light, they're fluffy, and they're fun.
If it's karaoke night at the Saban house, and it might have been, I don't know if you do karaoke or not. What's your go-to karaoke song?
I don't karaoke. I dance.
Yeah.
So
you Cupid Shuffle, you got that thing down.
I got it down.
I mean, you
wobble, Cuban shuffle. And
wobble. You can rock the wobble.
Yeah.
All the wedding reception dances, you got them down.
I got them down. But when I was growing up in West Virginia, there was 3 things that we could do. All right, we went to the river. We had a bridge off every railroad trestle. There was one movie theater, and it had showed the same movie for a month. And every other Saturday, they took the fire trucks out of the fire department, and we had a dance. Well, if you couldn't dance, you couldn't get a date.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I learned early. This is the way of the world. Now, not singing, dancing.
There you go. Thought everyone needed a little laugh on a Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. And then
you can wobble.
I looked it up. Like,
could you wobble?
Hell no. I wobbled and fell over with a beer. Okay, we all know that in our old location. Luckily, that damn video doesn't exist somewhere, but I bit it.
You can't. I don't think I could wobble either.
No.
Electric slide.
Probably a little, but it would look brutal.
We'd be the two most uncoordinated electric sliders. I guess that's how you put it out there. Anyway.
Now, I will say this. Some people listening to this show this morning have seen me run through houses and, and crouch down and do dances and jig and all that crap. And then I even had No. What I'm just saying is I even had this was the end of the LSU game in 2012, which was the TJ Yeldon screen,
right,
where everybody went ballistic. And Alabama came back and won late. It was bleak. It looked awful. AJ McCarron had a terrible second half, but he and Kevin Norwood, live in infamy. And then of course we know with Yeldon they win the game, and Alabama comes back, and Damian Square gets the sack to seal it and win and continue Alabama's run toward a repeat. And I will never forget someone in the house who'd had a few. He turned to me and he was like, and somebody said, "Hey Drew, do you need a ride home?" I said, "No, I'm good. I haven't had anything." And they're like, "You acting that crazy and you ain't drunk?" That's what the guy asked me. So yeah, I can go pretty crazy.
There you go. All right, 256-576-4977.
Now we have a text in from somebody at said party, and he said, "I still have a scar from the party."
Oh, anyway, let's go out to the phone lines. Richard is with us. Good morning, Richard.
Morning, guys. You were talking about Tebow. Actually, it worked out best for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did.
Florida got 2 national championships. Alabama, because if we'd have gotten Tebow, we might not have gotten Saban, and so we've gotten 6. So it's kind of worked out for everyone there.
It did, I totally agree, Richard. And the biggest and the most beautiful part is Saban ran him out of town on a rail. And I'm talking about everybody knows Herb left because Saban was whipping his ass. That's the whole reason he left, and his program was falling apart because Nick Saban made him take nerve pills because he couldn't handle it.
Well, it was funny because Tim Tebow that night, the other night said he was kind of giving Alabama fans a hard time, which was funny. He said, "I can't believe still everyone keeps coming up to me saying, 'Roll Tide.' Roll Tide." He goes, every 2 minutes, that's all I'm hearing. He goes, "You guys are making me cry." And then he paused and he goes, "I'll have to admit, though, it's not the first time Alabama has made me cry."
That is very true. And that was a great moment in sports history, even though I have immense supreme respect for Tim Tebow because he's authentic and he's one of the greatest players that I've ever seen in my life and great competitors. But it's kind of like the old Julio Jones quote: Tim Tebow's a great player, but we were tired of him.
See, you guys were talking about Vanderbilt. I wonder how many tickets they've sold.
That's a great question. We even had Jeremy, one of our callers, saying he and his friends were going. So I really don't know. That's I wonder how. I guess that
when they play Alabama or Georgia, the other teams fill the stadium.
Oh yeah.
And so Hawaii's bringing zero. I mean.
Oh yeah. I mean,
they'll
bring a traveling party, I'm sure.
Travis Ryer,
Yeah, Travis is going to see Savannah. Yeah, she's the director of recruiting. Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't bring too many fans. But one thing too, it's televised, so you have to have
SEC network.
You cameras and things. I mean, you got to think even the camera setup, because usually you'll have an end zone camera out and things. So and one thing too is like our buddy Jeff. You got Middle Tennessee State has, I would assume, a decent sized stadium. I would assume Tennessee State would seat 10 or 15,000. I'm just guessing. Plus, the pro stadium. So I mean, you got.
I think Tennessee State plays it. I thought at one time Tennessee State played. Do they play at Nissan Stadium?
They may do.
They play a couple of their games.
Yeah.
I know they had the John Merritt Classic back in the day, and that was played there. But you can get on StubHub. You can get tickets to the Vanderbilt Hawaii game for $6.
Wow, $6.
That's today. You probably can get for $3.
Uh-oh. We lose Richard.
You can get
the stadium or something. I mean, maybe they're lodging.
Yeah.
And then other problem is, I wonder when they play at home again.
I don't know. But I'm going through looking at
I think Vandy plays the first couple of games at home, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you can get really good seats, really close down for like $18.
If your seat's actually there.
Yeah.
When you get there.
Yeah, no, I mean, these are middle. Yeah, these are like in Section D.
Matter of fact, Richard, Alabama A&M, our friends from down the road, play Vanderbilt's second game at Vandy.
Oh, wow.
Well, see,
then they go to Wake Forest.
Yeah, A&M will draw a few, bring a few fans up, but like I said, I doubt, it wouldn't surprise me if you don't have 15,000.
It's a Hawaii game?
For the Hawaii, maybe A&M too.
Yeah, I don't know how many they will get. Kentucky visits there on September 23rd.
Yeah.
And then Missouri is there September 30th. Mm-hmm. And then Georgia comes October 14th. That's going to be the interesting one because how many, I mean.
The Dogs are going to take that over.
Yeah, with it being under construction.
Kentucky probably will because you can come down for the day. And them too, Nashville's the draw. Just like when Alabama goes there, people spend Saturday night there and go out, after the game and things. So, I mean, Kentucky, will probably bring a big crowd in.
Just watch the bicycle trolleys. Watch them.
Yeah. So, Al, but like I said, I just have a feeling they're not going to have, they're not selling too many tickets these first two games.
Right.
Maybe they're logic of the players. Like I said, they walk through the stands almost.
Never know.
Or something. So.
All right, Richard.
Okay, guys.
Thanks for the phone call. Yeah. Watch the bicycle trolleys and
watch them.
Watch for walking the dogs.
Oh, Lord.
Because
I had somebody ask what walking the dog was yesterday.
Just walk the dog.
On the show.
Just walk the dog.
That's another one of our Druinary terms.
I don't even know that's a Druinary. That's just a simple,
we came up with that that's the story from Nashville, man.
Yes. Yes.
Besides the czar almost falling through the floor.
Well, yeah. Anyway. Let's get a break in. More Talking Ball, 256-576-4977 when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Good morning. We haven't picked up anything new accident-wise. Had one working on 565 eastbound near I-65. That one reported as a no injury, so it should be out of there pretty quick. The only other working accident was in the 6,000 block of Moore's Mill. That was a hit and run, the remaining vehicles off in a parking lot. You could lose up to 4 sizes in 4 weeks with the 2030 Fast Track Weight Loss Program. Find out more at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
This is Wes Neighbors sitting here with Philip Love of not only Eagle Insulation, now he represents Eagle Companies. Eagle through the years have added several companies to help individuals or builders through their construction renovation process. Eagle is known to represent quality, efficiency, and professionalism. Philip, I know you do insulation, but do you do masonry?
We do.
Do you do grading, erosion control, and dirt hauled off?
We do.
Do you do after paint, which includes shower doors, mirrors, shelving blinds, and bath hardware?
Yes, we do, Wes.
Do you do landscaping and irrigation?
Yes, we do.
So basically, Eagle can help you all along your process of building your house or doing renovations. So do you do plumbing?
We do not, Wes, but we can find somebody to do it.
Just give them time. They'll be there. Anyway, call Eagle Insulation at
256-755-1556.
Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money. Call Eagle today.
Thanks, Wes.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. If you've been injured and need a lawyer right now, do you know who you really get?
I'm attorney Jennifer Lackey. You want to talk to your lawyer. My clients talk to me.
And me. I'm attorney Justin Lackey. We're the ones that you talk to.
And we're the ones who handle your personal injury case.
And we'll take care of it.
The Lackey Law Firm. 1-800-4RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Want to see what I bring to the party?
Congratulations to The Drive as we celebrate a decade of Wes and Steve. Here's to 10 more.
Now, Sonny and Cher would say, that's on you, babe.
97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you, hanging out until 9 a.m. It's 7:52 on a Wednesday morning. Welcome back into the program, into the show. 256-576-4977. That's the number to be a part of the program this morning. And so yesterday, Alabama working out. By the way, if you head to our YouTube page, you can watch Alabama and Auburn practice. There's practice videos up there from both Alabama and Auburn. You can watch them go through fall camp practice. Yesterday, Auburn, Hugh Freeze and company back working after their scrimmage on the weekend. Alabama back working after their scrimmage on the weekend. Both intend to scrimmage again this coming Saturday. So the second of their fall camp scrimmages set to go this weekend. Alabama, obviously, Drew, replacing defensive coordinator Pete Golding with longtime defensive coordinator Kevin Steele. And you think that the defense could be better than it was last year just because of
Wild Turkey
Pete
being
Golding
gone.
Right. But so Alabama defense versus Georgia's defense last year. Think about this. Bama had better numbers when it came to sacks than Georgia did last year. Bama was 16th in the country. Georgia was 49th. Bama had better numbers when it came to tackles for loss than Georgia did last year. Bama, 22nd in the country, Georgia, 58. Yards per play, Alabama better than Georgia, 4th in the country, giving up yards per play. Georgia was 15th. But Georgia was better at Alabama on third downs and in scoring. Georgia was 5th, Bama was 9th. In third downs, Georgia was 2nd, and Bama was 10th. if you think of those numbers, Alabama's defense last year was not bad under Pete Golding. So how much better then can it be, and what are the expectations then with Kevin Steele this year?
Well, the expectations are to win a championship. It's what they are every year at Alabama. It never changes, okay? If you can't deal with it, get out.
But Pete Golding did win a national championship.
He did in 2020. The defense improved as the season went on and played well late, okay? But the mantra is to win a championship. And when it counted most, you're right, Alabama wasn't good enough on third down. They didn't force enough turnovers last year. They weren't disruptive enough. And, and they gave up big plays in the passing game because there was a lack of communication, because Golding did not simplify the defense. He had trouble applying it on the field, and Alabama in key situations did not execute. Okay, and a biggest thing, and it plays off of the defense, is Bryce Young was injured. If Bryce Young is completely healthy, he's 100%, they don't lose to Tennessee, and they don't lose to LSU. Period. End of story. He was the best player in college football, no matter what Cal Turd or any of these other guys say. You want to know why? Because he was the first pick in the draft. He was the first pick in the draft because he was the best player. Okay? He was the best player in the country last year, but he wasn't healthy, and that's part of football. And so he played he was a warrior. We went out there and played anyway, even though he wasn't able to do much in practice.
Right.
He still put Alabama in position to win twice against Tennessee and against LSU. But defensively, Alabama didn't make the plays, and if they did in Knoxville, Mo, Larry, and Curley took it from them. But even then, even after all that, they dropped a pass and they missed a kick, or they still would have won in Knoxville. So Bryce Young did all he could.
So is discipline on defense the biggest thing that Kevin Steele needs to improve?
They've got to get better on third down, and they've got to, they've committed too many penalties. They've got to be more disciplined, and hopefully that's what Kevin Steele is going to do. And I think that's another reason why he's an overseer and not a position coach, so he can put foots up people's asses. Okay, you've got to do your job, and so. Again, I'm going to be really interested to see how good they are defensively, how much better they are under Kevin Steele, and what Lane Kiffin's defense looks like under Wild Turkey after he gets back from Tunica.
No, because the numbers last year for Alabama were not bad. I mean, you look at the numbers, they weren't real bad. I know Alabama fans
but they
lived
weren't
on the
elite
edge.
in certain areas, and that's what you're judged on.
Penalties.
Pete had 5 years. He got $2 million a year to leave and go to Ole Miss. So he was able to enhance his reputation as a recruiter and as a coach, and we'll see how good he is now that Nick Saban's talent is not there to half save him, and he has to do it himself. At Ole Miss with less talent. We'll see how good. Maybe Pete is a great defensive coordinator. He may be. He may prove to be. He's going to get his chance to prove it now that he's, quote, unquote, out from under Nick Saban.
Where do you think Ole Miss then lands defensively? I mean, you're
bottom
talking
half of the SEC is my prediction.
7th or worst, or 7th or better?
Worse.
Below 7.
Yep. Lane better have his playbook ready.
You didn't even hesitate when you said that.
Better hope he can win, 45 to 42 ball games, bro. Everybody bring in some extra miniatures. Get hammered in the Grove before the game because you're going to need it. You're going to be some arena football going on. It'll be exciting. You'll be able to yell and scream, but you're going to want to pull your hair out too when it's 3rd and 15 and you give up a damn 45-yard screen pass. Or a 75-yarder on a slant when the safety doesn't line up right because nobody
Ole Miss
can
cannot
communicate.
have that's 7th or worse for Ole Miss's defense this year.
No question.
All right.
They're already talking about the talent maybe not needing to be where it is, in a couple areas. Well, good luck with that. Because all I know is everybody ripping this Alabama secondary that didn't play well last year, and they didn't play well at times.
Right.
They're all in the NFL. Wonder why. Wonder why the power blood.
Let's get that break in. Short break. Short break.
Coaching matters. Coaching matters. Coaching matters. Get out, Pete. We don't want to see you come back ever again. Goodbye.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Check out VSiN's catalog of original podcasts, daily and weekly programming to keep you in the know when you're on the go. Only at VSIN.com. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
NFL training camps continue this week. The Chiefs remain the favorite to win the Super Bowl at plus 600, followed by the Eagles at plus 800. The first AP Top 25 college football poll has been released. No surprise, Georgia, the defending champions, are on top once again, a plus 230 bet to win the national title this coming season. Right behind them is Alabama at plus 650, Ohio State 750. Michigan comes in at number 2. They're a plus 850 bet to win the whole thing. Ohio State's third. They're a plus 750 bet. Alabama number 4 on the poll. Bit of a surprise. They're plus 650 to win the national title.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Hour 2 officially underway. Hour 1 was fantastic. In case you missed it, make sure you head to 977ESPN.com. You can head to our Twitter page at 977, our Facebook page. Head to it all, YouTube page. Catch us on hour number 1. Recap it. Just to recap real fast, we talked Alabama practice, talked a little Auburn practice, talked a little college football along the way. Talked about Alabama's defense being better than last year. The numbers were not bad. What Pete Golding's going to do in Ole Miss. The Florida Gators continue to get ready for the new year and their opener on the road at Utah. They did throw out the fact that they're going to be wearing some black jerseys through the year this year, I believe, at a couple points. So jersey drops for the Florida Gators continue. But it really matters what's going on the field and on the recruiting trail.
It does, and the Gators have been, I still say, one of the hottest teams in the country on the trail. They're number 3 right now in the On3 sports recruiting rankings nationally. Billy Napier's killing it in recruiting. They certainly have got to improve the product on the field, but I think he's going to do that. And I think they're going to be a contender in the very near future, but they certainly are doing a great job in recruiting. And our good friend now is back with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, now the publisher of Gators Online, one of the best recruiting gurus in the business. He's been in it a long time, 20-plus years, and now back home in his home state of Florida and helping Gators Online become one of the foremost sources when it comes to the Florida Gators in the business. And Keith Niebuhr is with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Keith, it's great to have you back in Huntsville. Good morning.
Yeah, what's going on, man? Everybody good up in the Rocket City?
Yeah, we're good,
melting.
Man.
We're melting, but we're okay.
I mean, hold on a second. Melting? Do you guys know how hot it is in Tampa right now?
How hot? What's it there?
I was just fanning myself out on my balcony. Okay?
Keith has quite a view for those that.
Well, that's okay.
I
mean, yes, I get it. Yes.
He's right on the water there. Yeah, but I mean, it's hot everywhere in the South. There's nobody.
Yeah, it is. It is. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Billy Napier's still hot.
I don't know how people got by without air conditioning. I have no idea. I mean, really
brutal. I mean, no doubt. But speaking of hot, though, the Gators are hot. Got more great news this week, and I mean, Corey Raymond definitely paying off. One of the best recruiters in the country. And they get one of the best corners in America right out of the boot in Louisiana and Wardell Mack.
Yeah, I love to. You guys know me. I love to brag. We knew about this. We didn't know about this one. We knew Florida was in it, but most of the chatter was about Texas. And I just believe in being honest with people. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and brag about something that we didn't have all the intel on. What we knew was after his last visit to Florida in late July, that last weekend, we knew from high-placed sources at Florida, very high, that Florida, one, felt good after that weekend, and 2, felt like they would be in it until the end. Those were the 2 things that were told to me. And I didn't read that much into it. I figured, okay, so they feel like they had a good weekend, but all the buzz was still, 1, about Texas, and 2, hey, keep an eye on LSU. Keep an eye on LSU, because LSU had sort of circled back to Wardell Mack and was recruiting him much harder than they had been. But as it turns out, I think he told Florida that weekend he was coming, so they knew they were actually just kind of I don't know if the word sandbagging or whatever, but they sort of knew he was coming then. It's a big pickup, and more than Corey Raymond, much more than Corey Raymond on that one. And Corey Raymond's unbelievable, obviously. His track record, his recruiting track record, his on-the-field track record. But that was more of a Billy Napier production. That was Billy locking in on a guy and saying, hey, as a program, this is a guy I want. And he really kind of spearheaded that recruitment. Number 3 class in the country, number 22 commit. Florida's got 4 secondary guys now committed. They really, when you go position by position, they could stop right now and probably be okay, but they do need to there's a few more gaps there. Not gaps, a few more spots they really want to finish with a bang at, one being offensive tackle. They'd like a second running back. And if you can get an elite receiver, absolutely they would take another one. And on the defensive line, they still have 1 big target out there. And in the secondary, they still have 1 big target out there. So, wow, it's a great, great class. It really is. It's what Florida needed. We don't know how the guys are going to pan out and all that. But, the guys, the problem is when you dig yourself a hole as a program, it takes a few years to get out of it. This isn't basketball where one class. I saw what the Alabama basketball coach has done. He's lost a bunch of guys, and all of a sudden they got these great guys coming in, transfers. Bruce Pearl's done the same thing. You can't really do that in football. It takes a few classes, one class on top of the other, and within those classes you got to fill your needs, and you got to find some difference makers. So the last class was pretty good. This class is better. You see potential for difference makers. You got your 5-star quarterback. You got your 5-star safety. So the potential for difference makers are there, and you're filling needs, but it's still going to take more work, and no doubt about it.
Is that why, there's not really a area for a focus for Billy Napier? It's not like let's go get more defensive linemen or let's get offensive linemen. Let's just start filling as many holes and let's get anybody?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, let's fill every available spot.
Right.
There's gaps everywhere, but really, offensive line and quarterback, when you really think about it. And to a lesser extent, and defensive line too. Look, they have needs all over the place. Linebackers not a strength of the team right now. They got to get some new linebackers in there, or more linebackers. Offensive and defensive lines, the O-line was pretty good last year, but they lost 3 big starters from that offensive line. And so they're going to have to rebuild the O-line over the next few cycles. D-line, you got to get bigger and better in the trenches at the SEC. Simple fact. That's where you're winning and losing most of your games. Yes, it helps if you've got a Cam Newton back there, obviously, or a Bryce Young, or, whatever. But you've got to be good in the trenches. So those have really been the focus points. And, you got a 5-star quarterback coming in. The question is, can he be ready to contribute next year? That's a big ask, guys. Have you seen big ask? Have you seen their schedule next year? It's murder. I think, over this year, Florida might have the toughest schedule in the country, and next year, on paper, they certainly do, and it's by a country mile next year. So there's a lot to be done, and so you're recruiting, you're selling your vision, but you're also having to tell these guys, look, there's a lot to be rebuilt here. If the team struggles this year, don't be surprised. In other words, they've laid the groundwork. These recruits that are committed know that it might not be a 10-2 type of season. And so the hope is by being just kind of upfront with them and letting them know that you're going to be part of the group that turns this thing around, they won't jump ship if the team is 3-7, let's say, at one point this year, which is hard to fathom with Florida. But that's the reality that they're in right now. They could surprise people and could be better, and I think they'll probably win more than 6 games. But when you look at that schedule, there's just not many cupcakes, guys. So there's all these things going on at one time at Florida right now. Recruiting well, trying to rebuild the program, trying to be better in year 2 than you were in year 1, trying to build a much better culture, a culture of winning. It's Rome wasn't built in a day. Let's be honest here. So, but they do seem to be making progress, and Billy Napier's really God, he's an interesting guy. He is the eternal optimist. He really is. Mm-hmm. And so far, he's recruiting, like a guy that's got the ability to get this thing going in the right direction.
He really is, and I know you had a chance to speak with him during the off season a couple times, and as you said, you were really impressed with what you heard, and he was very forthcoming. And then too, reading you guys' coverage over at Gators Online, and we only had a chance to follow him for a couple of weeks really here in our state, and we had someone on from Southern Miss, but then he left for Florida. It seems as though the hire of Austin Armstrong has been a good one so far.
That's an interesting one because, you say, God, this guy was 29 when he was hired, and is he ready to be a coordinator? And, but I don't know. Football's football, right? And some guys just have it. They just got it. And it now remains to be seen whether he's that guy. But when you talk to people, in fact, there was an interesting article quoting Steve Spurrier the other day, and he said, hey, man, this guy's got a ton of energy, okay? He basically said Austin Armstrong's bouncing off walls, and when you hear him talk, it's a million miles a minute. We have this impression of, and I've dealt with it for years, of Southerners being slow talkers, right? I mean, that's kind of the stereotype, right? And that is not Austin Armstrong. This guy is flying, and I'm not saying that's any Southerner. That's just what people think. But his brain is moving a mile a minute, a million miles a minute. His knowledge is supposedly incredible. And I brought this up before. Florida's actually had success, guys, with a coordinator under the age of 30. In 1979, Florida had a new head coach, Charlie Pell. It's a long time ago. I got you, but that was really when the program turned into what we know it today. And they didn't win a game that year as they played. They had a lot of injuries and, literally did not win a single game. A ton of injuries. Bama went into Florida Field and won by 40. And they had to play freshmen all up and down. And the next year they brought in a new offensive coordinator by the name of Mike Shanahan. You know who that guy? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Shanahan. And do you know how old he was when he was hired? 27 years old, guys. Or it might be 28. 27, 28 years old. As a coordinator in the SEC. Obviously, different era, but you didn't see that very often. Bill Battle had gotten the Tennessee head coaching job when he was super young. We all remember that, or don't remember it, but we know about it. We've read about it. Let's put it that way. And but that was, and it worked out for Mike Shanahan. 4 years there, the program turned into something really solid, and then he moved on to bigger things in the NFL and became the legendary coach. So it's happened before. That doesn't mean Austin Armstrong's the next Mike Shanahan, but so far he's recruited well. So far the players seem to like his system. Look, they don't have the dudes that Alabama and Georgia and LSU have on defense, so they're going to have to be creative to stop people, right? So that's going to mean a lot of blitzing and all that stuff. That's what you got to do, right? I mean, this isn't going to be the Monty Kiffin Bucks defense where you got 4 dominant defensive linemen and you just let them do whatever they want to do, and you don't really have to be too overly complicated here. You know what I mean? They don't have that. So they're going to have to do all kinds of things. But the reviews have been very positive. The players like him. He's young enough to relate to them. He's a bright guy. Everybody says it. I mean, guy I work with wrote a story about him recently, and talking to his his college teammate, his college coach, and they all say the same thing. This guy was absolutely born to do this. He was literally coaching his team while he was in college. I mean, So we'll see what he can do.
Are they going to, that being Florida, continue to kind of reap the rewards of the cookout from a couple weeks ago?
Here's maybe, and the cookout being the big recruiting event the last week of July, I should point out. Probably, but they've got, like I said, they got 22 commitments. They're probably only going to take 4 or 5 more, and then like everybody else, save a bunch of spots for the portal, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, what are the big needs after the season? Who's available? Sometimes you may not think you have a need at offensive tackle, but then this elite guy comes into the portal, and you say, well, you know what? We do have a need all of a sudden. So things can change. So of the 4 or 5 spots, some of those guys were at the cookout, but I think more than the cookout. In fact, the kid that they just got committed earlier this week, Wardell Mack, the 4-star cornerback, he was there. There won't be too many from that. That was more of, and I think Alabama's and Auburn's, for point of reference, was sort of similar. You brought in a bunch of guys, committed, a few remaining targets, but you really focused on next year. You know what I mean? You already started focusing on next year because at each of those schools, you were already sort of filling probably more so at Auburn, the current class, but with Florida, it was mostly younger guys. You had a lot of your current commits, but only a couple big targets. It was mainly, in this class, it was mainly targets for the next class. So, yes, they'll reap the rewards of it. What we're seeing is that Florida had great success with the June official visitors. They were a program that felt like, we can't wait. We as a program cannot wait to host a ton of official visitors until the fall. We've got to do it right now, lay the groundwork to get commitments. And the first weekend was a little slow, and the second and third weekends, everything really seemed to come together. And, they're sitting there at 22 commitments. They don't have many needs left. I mean, when you look at the big board, there's only about 10 names on it. That's it. The hay's pretty much in the barn. Now, obviously, you got to recruit until the whistle, we say, right? They got to hold on to everybody, but they think they have a very good chance. And in this NIL world, maybe it makes it easier for you to hold on to people if you have a bad season,
Yeah, that's true, but
we're about to find out, right?
Yeah, and I was going to ask too. When you were speaking of the portal,
Drew, let me interrupt.
Sure.
We're about to find out. I'm not suggesting Florida's going to have a terrible season. I mean, I'm saying nationwide, we're about to find out what happens when you have a class where the hay's mostly in the barn and you have a rough season. Do guys jump ship, or do guys stick because the NIL took care of a lot of that? We'll see. We don't know yet.
And speaking of the portal and in the Gators, and the thing that Scott and I, we debated this on the show yesterday. These preseason position rankings drive me ballistic. Because I think you need to wait at least even ranking teams as well. Wait till you see a team for a month before you get an idea of how good they are. It's been pretty much speculated the entire offseason that Graham Mertz wasn't going to be a great player. He wasn't a great fit. I know he just recently got named the starting quarterback. You guys are all over that at Gators Online. I know he spoke to the media yesterday. You've spoken to Billy many times. What seems to be the feel around the program about Mertz? I think he's kind of being underestimated, but what's your thought?
Well, he was never spectacular at Wisconsin.
True.
Now, did he have the pieces around him? Did he have the receivers? Did he have the offensive creativity? I mean, Wisconsin's never really been that kind of team that utilizes the air that much, the passing game. But what we know is he had pretty good offensive line in there always. So, you're balancing all that stuff. But he never did meet the expectations there for whatever reason. So, then you look at the interceptions thrown up there, and it's a relatively significant number. So you just don't know. You don't know whether it was him, whether it was the system, but they did their homework. The Florida staff, Billy Napier, Ryan O'Hara, who coaches the quarterbacks, and they felt like, to be honest with you, there weren't like a lot of great quarterbacks that went in the portal, guys. And remember, there was the kid at Coastal Carolina
that's right.
That Grayson McCall, who probably was going to go to Auburn, and if that didn't work out, was probably going to go to Florida. He didn't end up anywhere. So that tells you about if nobody took him, then that doesn't mean he couldn't play, because everybody knew he could play, but there was some academic hurdles there. So anyway, they felt like Mertz was the best guy available that they got, or that they could get, and that fit what they wanted to do. And look, they're a power running team,
they are,
and with a lot of play action. And so can he be that guy? Well, in practice windows, which have been very small, but Florida had one completely open practice. The whole practice, they let fans come, which was really interesting, and I hope they do that every year. Mertz was really sharp, mostly sharp with 7-yard routes, 12-yard routes, 15-yard routes. Now, okay, that's good. You got to have that. You got to have a guy that's efficient, right? A good game manager type. But you also have to have big playability. And look, I speak from experience. The last couple of years at Auburn, last few years, what have they not been able to do, guys? There weren't a lot of big plays. I mean, if you got to go 80 yards in 15 plays, something's going to go wrong. You're going to fumble. You're going to have a false start in the key spot. You need chunk plays. That's chunk plays. That's everything right now in football. And so the question remains: can Florida have those? He's got a decent group of receivers. They've got 3 young guys that are probably all going to be very good. This could be the best young receiving class since '94 with Riddell Anthony, Ike Hilliard. Okay, it could be that type of level, but they're freshmen guys. Even Riddell Anthony and Ike Hilliard didn't have 50 catches. He's a freshman now. Okay, one had 30, one had 22, and that's pretty rare. You don't have guys setting the world off. And now there's always like Calvin Ridley. There's always guys like that. There's always exceptions. So Do they have the weapons? One, we'll see. I think eventually, yes, maybe later in the season, but can those true freshmen be ready to go early? And then also, can he complete those long plays? Can he make big plays out of play action? Because we think they're going to be able to run the ball. The ATN kid and the other running back are very, very good. Okay, they've got two strong running backs, and they think they've got a pretty good offensive line. It might not be as good as last year, but they should be fairly solid. So there's a lot of pressure on Graham Mertz. He's going to have to make some plays, and so far in his career, he hasn't made a ton of them. He hasn't been terrible, though. He just maybe hasn't been what people thought he'd be as a highly rated, high school quarterback. Sometimes a guy gets in a new situation and is a completely different guy, right? Sometimes they get in a different situation, like a TJ Finley, and it never happens, right? You just don't know. You don't know until you start playing the games.
Well,
but to answer, and I talked a lot without saying anything. I'm sorry, but to answer your question, what gives them confidence? What gives Billy Napier confidence or optimism? Is that this guy's in the film room every day. He's taken to his teammates. They've taken to him. He's got the leadership qualities. They see that he's a film junkie. He can be a leader on the field. Now he's got to go make the plays. We know he can make the routine plays. We've seen that. But he's going to have to do a little bit more than that. And they think the ability's there. He's an older, mature guy. Maybe he's just what this team needed. We'll see.
Well, Gators Online, Keith Niebuhr, Nick Delatorre, Zach Albaverdi, you guys do a great job covering Florida. And, of course, Corey Bender. Had him on many times on my Recruiting Blitz show. He works with you in recruiting, does an outstanding job. You guys have a great staff. Let everybody know what you got going on at Gators Online.
Yeah, it's just preview stuff. That's it. A lot of preview stuff. And, with the recruiting class kind of, I don't want to say finished, but, 85 to 90% complete, some of our focus is turning to the elite juniors that Florida's recruiting. And normally readers don't want to read about those guys yet, but we don't have any choice. Those are that's what we've got to focus on. So there's plenty of coverage, plenty of intel on the team. And, gosh, guys, they kick off 2 weeks from tomorrow, I believe.
Utah may have a third-string quarterback. I heard they've been having some injuries, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on out there. We're all going to be there, though. We'll be out there at the game. I'll be there. It's going to be exciting.
It will be. We look forward to it. Thank you, Keith.
Yeah, take care, guys.
All right, let's get that break in. More Talking Ball when we return.
Yeah, they've made.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Good morning. Just got a wreck reported at Highway 53 and Harvest Road. That one is coming in as an injury type. And we got one reported in Scottsboro, 72 eastbound around Alabama Highway 35. That one may have an injury reported as well. No hose, no mask. You could ask Dr. Sandman, that's Dr. Sandlin, for the medically proven benefits of the Somnodent for sleep apnea and for snoring. Dr. Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard. Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard. It's perfect.
Now try Babbel free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Since 1986, Full Moon Barbecue has been cooking quality meats low and slow over a hickory wood-fired pit. From ribs and wings, brisket, turkey, catfish, and sausage to the best butts in town. If you're planning a holiday or a birthday party, Full Moon has a large banquet room. And Full Moon is ready for your next catering or tailgate. Just call us and we'll take care of everything. 256-713-0070. Full Moon Barbecue on the Parkway next to Costco. The best little pork house in Alabama. you want the right specialist for your recovery. At SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, we understand every body is different. Your muscles and bones are unique, as is your body. Our SportsMed specialists offer innovative treatments and minimally invasive procedures, allowing you to quickly return to the life you love. Locations in Huntsville, Madison, Athens, and Decatur, and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. Improving performance, improving lives.
With us today, Dr. Tracy Lowry of Best Vein Care of Huntsville.
When we evaluate a patient and they indeed have significant venous disease, most third-party payers, private insurance, Medicare, require us to treat every patient conservatively at least 90 days. Conservative treatment includes increasing ambulation, elevation of the legs, and the wearing of compression stockings. It's very common for folks to come see us in March or April wanting to have their veins fixed before they go into swimsuits starting in June. When we see someone in March or April, they're going to require at least 90 days of conservative treatment before we can even go to the insurance carrier to get permission to treat their veins. So if you think you have a venous problem, now is the time to come in and get a free screening so we can determine whether or not you need something evaluated. If you have a vein problem or you think you may have a vein problem, now's the time to contact us at bestveincarehuntsville.com.
There we go. Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Social media is a great thing.
Right.
We're not going to play it because, well, we can't play it.
We're not on XM.
But we're going through excerpts from last night's concert over at the Orion.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg, Warren G, Wiz Khalifa. Some good stuff coming out of the old Orion from last night. 256-576-4977. That's the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Feel free to be a part of the show. We just got done having Keith Niebuhr on the show.
Yes,
Keith Niebuhr has helped us for a long time with the Auburn Tigers. Now he's doing the Florida Gator beat, and he was not there, did not get to witness all of Anthony Richardson's greatest moments there as a Florida Gator.
No.
But so anyway,
he might have needed some of Warren G's smoke.
He may need some, along with Snoop's. He and Martha Stewart, by the way.
Oh, Lord.
Anyway, the reason why we pivot to Anthony Richardson, you go back to the draft. You go back to this past draft. Bryce Young, the overall number 1 pick out of Alabama, he gets the stamp of approval. No surprise there. He is the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. C.J. Stroud, DeMeco Ryans, we assume, is going to give him the stamp of approval and be the starting quarterback for the Houston Texans. And we debated this going into the draft, I don't know how many days, because it was, could we believe that Anthony Richardson was going to go as high as he would? Would he start his rookie year? And the Indianapolis Colts have indeed given Anthony Richardson, the 4th overall pick in the NFL draft, the stamp of approval over Gardner Minshew to be the Colts starting quarterback. So that means this draft class, the top pick, the 2nd pick, and the 4th pick, presumably all will be rookie starters in the league.
And I told somebody this the other day, I think the Colts are already on the clock for next year. I'll just be honest. I think they're headed to a 2 or 3 win season. Might have the 1st pick. And it'll be interesting to see if it's a disaster for Richardson or if he shows enough potential that they're going to, not take a quarterback with the number 1 pick next year. We'll see. A lot of people
the biggest question is everyone is going to sit
there. Caleb Williams. That's what they're just going to be talking about. Blah, 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 blah. Cal Turd's going to tell you he's the greatest quarterback in the history of man.
The question that I'm going to ask for those that probably will be unprepared will be, who's going to have the better year, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, or Anthony Richardson? That's going to be the question that everybody's going to default to.
Stroud, our guys at the Morning Blitz, they are the preseason football czars. And Bandy, I know y'all been talking about this.
Is there a thing?
I think C.J. Stroud, from what I understand, he was struggling early But that's not surprising. I'm not ready to judge him yet. You got to wait and see until the season gets started.
You can't judge anybody.
Like Bryce Young got a couple series last week. I mean, Richardson with 7 of 12. You got to wait and see. But it's going to be really interesting to see which one of these three takes to the NFL the quick. I still think it's going to be Bryce because I think they were a 7-10 team last year. They were halfway decent.
Right. But anyway, the point of this is that draft class being thrown into the fire early. You remember back in the day, Peyton Manning, he started as a rookie, set the interception record for a year. Other quarterbacks have had to sit a year, get used to the league, then play, and their numbers still were good, not good. So I don't know. There's always that. Do you start a quarterback? Do you start a rookie quarterback in the league? It's the old adage. It's the old debate that's been asked a million times. But this past draft class, we'll see 3 rookies start in a regular season game, or the opener, I should say, in the NFL. All right, let's get a break. Because when we come back, I'm going to talk some, is it Auburn football?
Kentucky. John Hale.
Oh,
yeah.
Will Levis. He's a rookie quarterback. He needs to be starting too.
What has y'all's take been on Levis, Bandy?
Oh, probably exceptional.
We haven't really talked about Levis.
So what's been the thought on the 3 we just talked about? Bryce and CJ.
The best thing I can say about Anthony Richardson, he looks better passing than he ever did at Florida. That's about it.
And we'll go to break.
Still on Bryce.
With John Hale of the Lexington Herald Leader. Going to talk some Kentucky football next.
Oh, mayonnaise in your coffee.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
It will be a cool and quiet Wednesday night here across the Tennessee Valley. A mostly clear sky going to be expected. Low temperatures only going to fall into the low 60s heading into the overnight. Patchy fog could develop sometime throughout the overnight as well. We'll have to watch for that Thursday morning for your commute. Otherwise, we'll see plenty of sunshine throughout the day on Thursday. High temperatures going to be topping out in the mid-80s, and it looks like we'll see another dry day. I'm meteorologist Emily Owen on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Got an injury wreck working on 53 at Harvest Road. That one may be with us for a few more minutes. Everything else accident-wise from earlier should be cleared out of the way. We got a lot of folks scrambling this morning, though, trying to get in on time. You be careful if you're in that last-minute rush. From routine care to heart failure, Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Guys, music can inspire us. Let the concert quality sound system at Zoom Indoor Cycling help push you harder than you ever thought possible. No matter if you're a beginner or an experienced rider, you'll ride top-of-the-line Stages SC3 bikes as the most talented instructors in North Alabama motivate you to reach your goals.
You can do it!
Zone Indoor Cycling is this week's Zone deal. Get a $100 certificate for just $50. Get yours now at 977ESPN.com. $2 specialty shoe rental per ride for new riders.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders,
and the homeowners of the Huntsville area a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
Welcome back. Stan McDonald from the Stanton Law Firm. I had lunch with Lewis just recently and with a client of ours, a mutual client, and great to hear all the good things going on at the Stanton Law Firm.
Thank you, Wes. The Stanton Law Firm, as you know, we've discussed before, we're dirt lawyers. We do a lot of real estate, litigation and closing. And yes, my son Lewis McDonald enjoyed meeting you a couple of weeks ago, and a couple of your friends. He is, as you know, he's opened up a commercial closing division. So he's really helping a lot of people who are trying to close, buy, or sell on their commercial property. And you can't be in this community doing business without knowing Wes neighbors.
I don't know about that, but sure was getting to meet another McDonald and talking a little bit about his grandfather, Coach Dye, and right. The different things. It was a lot of fun.
Well, your listeners are really going to enjoy meeting Lewis and you in this community. And like I said, at Jacob Title or the Stanton Law Firm, we close business. We do some good commercial closings, residential closings. We appreciate being part of your show.
Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you Wednesday morning. It's 8:35. And the Kentucky Wildcats, we've had a lot of conversation about this show, on this show about where do you put Kentucky going into the new year. Do you put them ahead of Tennessee? Do they finish ahead of Tennessee in the SEC standings? Do they finish below Tennessee? What's a great projected win total for Tennessee? Is it over 6.5 wins for Tennessee? Is that too high, too low for the Wildcats?
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting with the Kentucky conversation because we were looking at the Tennessee schedule, earlier this morning, and like I said, I mean, I know in the recent past, Kentucky has started to turn that around with them, and that's going to be really interesting because they have to play Kentucky right after, at Kroger Field after a very emotional game in Tuscaloosa. And this Kentucky team, I think, is going to be solid, man. I picked them third in the East. There was even some thought of picking him second. It's going to depend on Devin Leary and how he takes to the quarterback position, and Kentucky staying healthy. I think they've got some underrated weapons. I know they lost Chris Rodriguez, who seemed like he was there forever, but they've always been able to run the ball. It's going to be very, very interesting, and they've added some key pieces there in the backfield, and we're going to talk about that and more with one of the best in the business, with the Lexington Herald leader. It's John Hale, and he's with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. John, it's great to have you back. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are good. What is the mood around camp? Is there a lot of optimism? Because I think they've got a team that can be sneaky good. I know we have a caller from Jeff from the Borough who's a huge Kentucky fan. He always accuses me of not liking the Wildcats. I actually really respect Mark Stoops and what he's done. This is a team, as we said, a lot of conversation about him in Nashville. But what's the vibe around the program?
No, I think it's kind of a quiet confidence, and they like kind of the spot they're in with this sort of, SEC region-wide and national attention. Because a year ago, everybody like us was picking them second in the East and was talking about how this was the chance for them to take this massive step forward as a program and, go to a New Year's Six Bowl or something like that. And they just did not handle all that preseason praise very well. I mean, the first time adversity hit, Mark Stoops said this in the season when Will Levis gets banged up, they just didn't handle it well, and it ended up being a disappointment overall, even though they kept their bowl streak alive. Now you're back in a spot where, not a lot of people are talking about them outside of the locker room. You have all these questions. It's easy to look on paper and say, well, Kentucky lost a second-round draft pick at quarterback. Basically, for the entire history of the program, that would be a huge concern. But I think almost everyone associated with this team now is confident that Devin Leary is a better college quarterback than Will Levis was last year. He's not the same pro prospect, Nobody's drafting Devin Leary in the second round next year because of his size and some other things. He doesn't have the arm, the rocket arm that Will Levis does. But in terms of college production, he's already passed Will, and the way he operates in this Liam Cohen offense, the early returns are really, really strong. It's all about keeping him healthy. I mean, as Liam Cohen said on the local media day a couple weeks ago, if we can keep him upright, we've got a really good shot. And so it comes back to that offensive line that struggled so much that they kind of rebuilt in the transfer portal. If they fix that, and we won't know until we see them actually play games, I'm pretty confident that this team could have the kind of season that everybody was talking about them having a year ago.
What is Devin Leary's strength then? What will make this offense go with him under center?
Yeah, I mean, while he doesn't have the rocket, arm that Will Levis had, I mean, Will, threw the second fastest pass in the NFL Combine history or something crazy like that. He can make all the throws. And what they really talk about is he's really good at throwing guys open and fitting it into tight windows. I mean, we've seen 3 open practices between the spring and now since he got on campus. And he completes some passes that you just don't think are open. It was funny last week we were talking to some of the wide receivers and the wide receiver coach, and the point they kept making is every eligible receiver on the field has to stay alert. Even if the play is not designed to go to you, if you're an eligible receiver, you've got to run your route because he might throw it to you still. There was apparently a play in practice where it was designed to go to one guy, and the defensive back jumped the route so it wasn't there. And so Leary threw it to another receiver who was basically just running a dummy route to keep a defender off of the guy they were trying to get it to. And that receiver was kind of loafing it out there and wasn't running as fast as he could. So he wasn't where the spot he was supposed to be, and it would have been a touchdown otherwise. And so that's something they've been really emphasizing, that he's not afraid to go through his progressions. Tavion Robinson told us yesterday, one of their senior wide receivers, sometimes you don't think you're open, and he thinks you're open. And so, you've got to stay alert to him being able to fit it in those kind of tight windows.
Well, and then talk about this offense. I mean, I really like the young receivers. I loved Barry and Brown coming out of high school. I told Freddie Maggard, I know you know, and I said, he can be as explosive as a kid. And I know he had some moments as a kickoff returner. I didn't think Kentucky got him the ball enough last year, but, of course, you also have to play from the neck up. I know he was adjusting to college football, but him and Dane Key, I know he's a Kentucky legacy. How is the receiver core kind of shaping up?
Yeah, those two guys are probably, just from a talent-wise, the most exciting kind of 1-2 punch they've had at wide receiver in at least 10 years, maybe dating back to Steven Johnson and Chris Matthews when they were together in that Rich Brooks era. But they're really excited, but there is work to do there. I mean, they were basically athletes running around and just making plays with their athleticism last year. I mean, I sat down with Liam Cohen for a one-on-one interview right before the draft about Will Levis, and he wasn't here last year, but just watching from afar and watching the film after he got back, I mean, he basically said, I don't know that Will trusted those guys all the time to do the right route. If you're going to run a hitch, are you going 10 yards? Are you going 5 yards? Are you going 7 yards? They weren't always precise in those things. So now it's about taking that next step, becoming a wide receiver, running the right routes, lining up in the right spot, getting stronger so you can, kind of fight off press coverage and those kind of things. And the early returns are good, but we'll see how that progresses when they get into the season. They're not super deep at wide receiver because you have 2 freshmen who, Barryon broke the school record for catches and receiving yards by a freshman, and Dane broke the school record for receiving touchdowns by a freshman. When you have those 2 guys coming back, basically all of their veteran backup wide receivers transferred in the offseason. They said we're going to go somewhere else where we can, where we have a chance of being the more active part in the offense. They got Tavion Robinson to come back. He was the big transfer from Virginia Tech last year. Kind of had a disappointing season, but as a third option, you feel good about him. And then all the depth behind them is unproven. So they're going to lean a lot on their tight ends and their running backs in the passing game. Tight end in particular, Jordan Dingle was a freshman All-American in a few places last year. They're excited about him. Josh Caddis they love in terms of his physicality and being able to make plays, both a blocker and a pass catcher. Brendan Bates is back for the extra year of eligibility. They've got a couple young guys, and Kamari Anderson as a freshman they're really excited about. So that position will be heavily involved. Isaiah Cummings, the tight end, who looked really good in the second half of 2021 with Liam Cohen as offensive coordinator, is kind of a hybrid tight end wide receiver. And then he touched the ball one time all of last season for Rich Gangarel as the offensive coordinator. Cohen back, he seems to have that kind of second lease on his career here, and so maybe he has a breakout. And then the running back room, you mentioned they lost Chris Rodriguez. It will be more by committee. Ray Davis, the Vanderbilt transfer, will be the number one guy there. But guys like Jaton McClain, who's a senior, he'll have a big role. Ramon Jefferson, who transferred from Sam Houston last year, then tore his ACL in the second carry for Kentucky. It's actually his 7th season of college football. He's been here so long that Liam Cohen recruited him to Maine in high school as the FCS offensive coordinator. So that's a crazy story. And then they added, along with Devin Leary, Demi Sumo Kongbe from NC State, who's a running back, but is also a really good pass catcher. He's kind of been splitting time between running back and slot receiver. So I think they're going to try and get creative to make up for some of those depths, but it will still start with Key and Brown, the top two guys there.
How's the battles along that offense? You've kind of hinted to it when we were talking early, but the battles along that offensive line.
Yeah, that's the big question for this team. I mean, there's just no scenario where if Devin Leary gets hit 40 times or whatever, like Will Levis did last season in sacks, that you think he's going to last through an entire SEC season. He's just physically not nearly as big. He's already had injury problems in his past. Those were kind of fluke. I mean, he tore a pec muscle last year for NC State, broke his leg, I think his sophomore year at NC State. So it's not like a bunch of soft tissue stuff, but if he's getting hit over and over again, that's going to be a problem. So they've got to fix that offensive line. They went and added Marcus Cox at left tackle from Northern Illinois. I think they feel like they found a real steal in him. I mean, he only played 4 games last season and then ended up having a season-ending injury to his foot when he was playing against Kentucky for Northern Illinois. And them watching him on film, watching what he did for 20-plus snaps in that game before he got hurt, I think really opened their eyes to how good he was. And if he had been healthy for an entire season, he might have gone to the NFL, or he certainly might have gotten a lot more attention from big powerhouse programs in the portal. So that's a big plus. Adding him means they moved Kenneth Horsey, who played left tackle out of necessity last year, back to left guard for his natural position. They moved Eli Cox from center back to right guard, where he was a midseason All-American in 2021. And then they moved Jagger Burton, their right guard last year, to center, who's much more athletic. And they like what they've done there. The big question is still right tackle. That's doesn't seem to have been answered yet. Their starter, Jeremy Flax, is back. But they went and added Cortland Ford as a transfer from from USC. He, I think, will eventually be the starter. It's just a matter of how quickly he adjusts the offense and learns all the calls and stuff. That's the big question. Depth is a little stronger. They added Tanner Bowles from Alabama, Ben Crispin from Ohio State, who's a little banged up right now. They just didn't have much competition in that offensive line room a year ago. So you hope by adding more pieces that if somebody gets hurt or somebody's struggling, they have other realistic options other than just throwing the same guys out there over and over again like they did a year ago.
Well, and John, defensively, what are the strengths of this team going in? And then we did have a listener, and this is a great question because he played for a good friend of ours, Chip English. Khalil Saunders, I know he's a redshirt sophomore. What kind of role may he play on the defensive line heading into the season?
Yeah, starting with Khalil, that's a really interesting one because he, he's been banged up a little bit. I think he missed the last 2 games last season, the Louisville game and the bowl game, with an injury. He missed all spring practice with off-season surgery. And then when we saw his open practice on Fan Day 2 weeks ago, he was not back on the field yet. But I asked Anwar Stewart, their defensive line coach, last week about him, and he just straight up said he's the X factor on this defensive line. He's the guy who can make it go from one level to another when he's healthy, because you feel really good about Deion Walker, who's their big defensive tackle, who was a freshman All-American last year. I think he's the best player on the team, just from a pro prospect potential future. He's taken a huge step from year 1 to year 2. They like their nose guards, whether it's Josiah Hayes or Keyshawn Silver, former 5-star recruit they got in the portal from North Carolina. But that third defensive line spot has kind of been a rotation so far, but they really feel like Saunders, when he's healthy, if he takes that leap, he can be a guy who can change the pass rush to where they can get pressure on the quarterback when they just rush 4, which has not really been a thing this defense does very well, essentially since Josh Allen left in 2018. So I think the strengths of the defense are always going to be the way they play with Brad White as coordinator. they're going to have a top 30 defense. That's just what they do now. They're not flashy. They don't get overly aggressive. They don't take a bunch of risks. They're willing to let teams kind of dink and dunk and beat them by limiting big plays. But if they can have that pass rush they have not had recently, part of that's going to be J.J. Weaver, their outside linebacker, staying healthy. He just hasn't done that in his career. If he can have a full season, that'll be a big difference. But then if guys like Saunders up front can help get that push, that changes things for the defense quite a bit. They do have to replace both of their starting cornerbacks. Keaton Smith, who was from Ole Miss transfer, is gone. Carrington Valentine is getting a lot of buzz in Packers camp right now, is gone. They feel like they have a lot of options there, probably led by Andrew Phillips, who was their nickelback a year ago, but they added transfers from Cincinnati and J.Q. Hardaway, from Ohio State, and Jansen Dunn. They got a couple younger guys they're working into the mix there. That's going to be, behind the offensive line, probably the second biggest position question mark on this team. But Mark Stoops seems very confident that whoever emerges from that is going to be good. And what they've done with defensive backs recently, I think you take him for his word there. But obviously those guys' job gets a lot easier if the pass rush up front's better too.
No doubt. And, John, great stuff. They got a chance to start quickly. Ball State, September 2nd at home. And then, of course, Eastern Kentucky and Akron, 3-game homestand. And then at Vanderbilt could start 4-0 before Florida, Georgia, and Mizzou, which is going to be a key part of the schedule. But no doubt Georgia on the road as well, and that would be their first road game after, of course, going to Vanderbilt. I hate to say I don't consider that a road game. Scott and I, we've been kind of joking. We don't even know if their stadium's going to be ready at this point in time. But certainly Kentucky, it sets up for them to potentially start quickly. Well, John, great stuff, outstanding intel. Let everybody know how to follow you.
Yeah, it's at John Hale, JONHALE_HL on Twitter, and then Kentucky.com is the website.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Let's get that final break in. Tomorrow's headlines will wrap us all up next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We are wrapping up this morning with a couple of wrecks we're trying to get clear. One in Decatur, Danville Road and Danville Park Drive. That one had injuries reported. And we had Harvest and Highway 53 that was also reported as an injury type. But it looks like they have canceled Hemsey on that one. Popeye's $6 Big Box is back with 2 pieces of the hand-breaded signature chicken or 8 of their chicken nuggets, 2 sides, and a buttermilk biscuit for $6. Popeye's University and Jordan, 72 and Jeff and North Parkway. Captain Nick in the Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
You're starting to see more and more of them on the road in Huntsville, Madison, and North Alabama. And we've got them in stock, on the ground, ready for you to test drive. Hi, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and I'm talking about the all-electric Mustang Mach-E. Come experience the torque, exhilaration, and technology of our all-electric 2023 Mach-E, and you'll see why folks are leasing and buying them as fast as we can get them. And that's not to mention you may qualify for a $7,500 tax credit. Woody Anderson Ford is offering financing as low as 2.9% for 60 months, plus $3,000 in bonus cash on the 2023 Mustang Mach-E. Or you can lease one for $449 a month. And we've also got 23 Bronco Sports for $399 a month. These are 36-month leases with $52.71 on Mach-E, $37.09 on Bronco Sport due at signing. Zero security deposit, just tax tag title, and your good credit. These offers end September 4th. Call 539-9441 for complete details. Come on in today. Woody Anderson Ford, hope to see you soon.
Tom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
It just works. Picture this. You're at home, doing whatever it is you do. Then, pow! The power goes out. Then what? Well, at my house, life goes on. We have a Generac automatic home standby generator from Current Electrical and Generator Services. For your home security and peace of mind, get a free personal consultation on how a Generac automatic home standby generator can protect you. Current Electrical and Generator Services. Call or visit us on the web at HuntsvilleGenerators.com. You've got the power.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you, hanging out here on a Wednesday morning. And you remember Butterbean?
Oh, yeah.
He's from Jasper, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He's a Jasper guy.
So
right hand.
He is down. He weighed at one time 515 pounds.
Wow. Is this after he quit fighting?
Yeah, he's down to 296 pounds. He's lost 280 pounds.
Man, I didn't realize.
Doing yoga and other kind of exercises.
Well, that's great. I mean, I didn't realize Butterbean had gotten up that big.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm surprised they didn't do a reality TV show with as bad as television is now. I mean, good Lord. Woof. Good for him, man.
I have no idea why I decided to bring up Butterbean, but
I don't know.
It's just a name from the past that.
Heck, before the show, we were talking about Kansas football.
Yeah, Kansas is redoing their football stadium.
Won't be for free anymore. David Booth, he's got more money than he knows what to do with.
Oh, and also just wanted to let everyone know, next Monday, you and I are going to do a little tailgate tour.
Yeah, Matthew Smith will love this.
Thanks to our good friends over at Talent Heating and Air, which, by the way, if you're hot or cold, give Talent Heating and Air a call. Right. Heary. Anyway, we're going to be over at UNA on Monday. Everything UNA on Monday.
Here we come, Carry On Johnson and Coach DeArmond.
Yes, we will be doing our show live from Flowers Hall on Monday. It's going to be a tailgate tour. We're going to visit Alabama A&M. We're going to visit other ones. But we're going to start with UNA on Monday. Thank you to Talent Heating and Air for helping us do this. It's going to be a fun show, but that is Monday. We got to be heary on Thursday right here tomorrow.